So we're going to do the SSD involvement module. And this is our new associates have been with us 3 or 4 weeks, right? They've been introduced, they understand and been exposed to the strategic partnership and the access gap. They've been, in what we do and the SSD. They've got a concept and we spent some time. And now this is really an opportunity for us to really take and dig into how this tool is going to help, where their focus is and stuff. Or make sure you use the resources you've got. Obviously, we've got this video, we've got the outlines, we've got the animations to practice. And again, like everything else, it's not just the words to say, but it's the thinking and the understanding behind it. This is about filling in the blanks for your company and how you're communicating and why we do the tools and why we do what we do. So, one of the things we're going to do is, again, really, really understand this access gap. Now, for the folks that have been here a little bit, this is now an opportunity to take our thinking to that next level. See, when we keep talking about the access, it's not just that. See, we're in business, and if you're going to run any business, one of the most important things is to make sure that the business we're building is viable 2 years from now and 5 years from now and 10 years from now. We don't want to build something that's based on a trend because that can go away. See, the reality is, yes, it's no fun and it's not exciting that Main Street families have been abandoned and there's 150 million families that literally have no access to these education tools, and that the banks and insurance companies have literally created products for them to be stuck here forever. Like, that's not good. But for us to actually build a business, that means we get to be in business and there's a very captive group of people that desperately need us to show up, and we can build this thing as big as we want, as fast as we want, as strong as we want, and they're just going to keep coming. Because how many people are retiring today? How many people are being born today or getting married today? Right? This is an expansive market, and we will be able to be in business for a very, 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 very long time, and we will be able to impact hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people's lives, right? So that's one of the really get that understanding about the power of this access gap. And then why do we do what we do, right? Why do we recruit? It's such a critical understanding, right? What are there are 3 major reasons, right? First one is, if we actually believe that this access gap is real and we need to do something about it, the only way to get free in America is through ownership, but most of us don't have $500,000 of capital. So, okay, I got to own, but I don't have the resources to own. What do? I guess I'm stuck. No, we're going to show up and say, look, we believe that great people lay in bed and want to do something different, find something that's real, that's credible, it's in alignment, that makes an impact where they can accomplish what they want. And if it just showed they would do it, and we're like, okay, here, we're going to create a path to ownership. So that not on our watch. We're never going to say that this is just a cool thing to say. No, we truly believe that we can close this gap. Yes, we can help people get financially secure, but we can also legitimately help people get financially free. Right? So we've got to really have that plan. So that's on that process. But the next thing is, this group of people, they don't actually think that they're in trouble. See, most of us do the best we can with what we got. How are they going to hear us? How is this group of people who doesn't think they need help actually going to hear us? And that's our distribution system and our training development. See, when we recruit a new associate, it's not about, hey, let me take you and get you trained so you can learn how to tell this story. It's no. We want to go into business and we want to lock in your support system. We want the top 10 people in your life to become cheerleaders, to understand the hows and the whys, why you're doing what you're doing, the reasons behind it. We want them to ask the questions. We are going to recruit them to be your ally. Why? For 2 reasons. One, if you're going to go into business, man, the more support we can get, man, we can never have too much support. There can never be too many people in our corner saying, keep doing this. But the other thing is, by being able to tell the story and with them hearing and understanding what you're doing, it allows us to tell the access gap story. It allows us to ask and say things like, Main Street families don't know their debt-free day, or what's going to take to put their kids to college, or how to protect their family, or how to retire financially secure, because the system's not set up for it. And then what we've done is learn how to create an access company where we can provide access to the education tools. Well, we get to tell that story to the top 10. The top 10 listens because they're supporting and understanding what the new associate's doing, so they're emotionally invested in the new associate. But because a lot of them are part of the Main Street families and they've been abandoned, they don't know those answers. So when the answers are presented and there's an opportunity for them to get them, they can actually start to hear. Guys, it allows us to tell the stories and the conversations and let the people who need to hear it actually hear it. And then it allows us to create a feeder system. See, our job is to recruit those people to our company, to recruit them to our allies and our advocates and our associates. And they love us. And so what happens is, as we grow and as we get better and as we develop, right, with our market and they understand us, now all of a sudden we talk to them about the fact that, look, we need recommendations. We need to find great people that maybe have maxed out their vehicle, but they haven't maxed out their potential. They want to do something different just like I did. And if you had 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 people on the lookout for amazing people in their lives that wanted to do something different, and they recommended those folks to you, and all of a sudden now you've got an opportunity. But then we recruit those folks to associates. Guess what we tell them to do? We're going to go lock in their top 10, just like we did with you. But all of a sudden we're going to go tell the story, which allows Main Street families to hear the access gap story and repeat it. It allows us to have a legitimate, realistic plan to actually close this gap. Not just make some money, not just recruit some people, not just, do okay, but we can literally have an infrastructure that says, man, if we run this thing to the end, we can literally change the system. We can force the world to listen to us because we can find a way for Main Street families to hear us, and we have a solution. See, this is actually what we're doing. And I'd make sure, if you've been here 3 weeks or 3 years, you get very clear on this and ask the questions you need to ask. And you get very because this piece is vital. So then it's like, okay, now we know the bigger picture of what we're doing. How do we do it? Well, what we do is we run what's called our farm system. It says we've got our market, our top 10, and our warm, and our lukewarm, and our frozen, right? And what our number one job is to cultivate those relationships. That's all we do. Is cultivate and move those relationships. Cultivate and move those relationships. Cultivate and move those relationships. And we're going to move them to our bullpen. Our bullpen is when a group of people that we could call at any time, the moment we're ready to call, and they'll take a car and they'll sit with us. And they'll hear us. They won't buy or join. We don't need that. We need them to hear our story so that we can make a difference. Now, when we tell that story, we're going to tell the access gap story. And some of them are going to be like, man, this is what I want. I want to max this out. And they go on our draft board, and we know how to move them to our roster, and our players, and our starters, and our captains, and ultimately an RVP. And we start building our company with great people that want to do something different, that are part of that Main Street families that says, man, if there's a legitimate way for me to get out of this and to fight for freedom, I'm in. But guess what? There's going to be another group that their answer isn't positive. It's not negative. It's just Primerica's not for them. That's okay. We move them to our scout team. This isn't about convincing everybody in our life to join Primerica. This is about them understanding and supporting what we're doing. And the folks, maybe they're on a path, or right now they're not motivated, or maybe there's even a stigma about us or about Primerica. That's fine. Right? We can overcome that because we have a relationship and a conversation to cultivate it. And we get to talk about the concept of a strategic partnership. It says, look, we can do more together than we ever can apart. Who do you have in your life that's emotionally invested in your success? Why don't I get emotionally invested in yours, you get emotionally invested in mine, and we work together? And we can move them from an intro to an ally, from an ally to an advocate. And at some point, there's going to be something that happens in your business, and you're going to be able to go to them and say, you know what, it's time to grow. And I need to do something special, and I want to grow with you, someone just like you. Now, you might be on a path, but how many people just like you want to do something different, that have maxed out their vehicle, but haven't maxed out their potential? Right? And guess what? Those recommendations, we go back, tell the bullpen story, and some are positive, go down the associate line, and some aren't so positive in the business, and then we cultivate them to our scout team. And we have an opportunity to really grow a business and a support system. So it's like, okay, we know what we're trying to get done. Here's how we run the farm system. So now how do we actually get to there? Well, let's break down the farm system. Our top 10. What do we say? I'm coming over. Really? We don't need any fancy scripts. These are people who know you and care about you and love you. Hey, there's someone I want you to meet. We've got people in our lives that'll say yes to anything we ask them. Hey, can we meet at 2 o'clock in the morning? Sure. Yes, I can. Come on over. There's going to be people we have warm relationships where they like us, and they'll do a whole bunch, but they're going to do it on their schedule. Hey, can we meet? Yeah, but this week's not good. How about 3 weeks from now? That's okay. You're going to be in business in 3 weeks. There are going to be people that are lukewarm. Right now, there are probably a dozen people that you can think of that you smile at, wave at, say hi to, do the head bod, whatever it is, around the community. You don't even know their name, but you guys know each other, sort of. Imagine if you wanted to cultivate those relationships just for the relationships and the opportunity to grow and be a part of what you're doing. There's a platform to do it. And then we've got our frozen. These are people we haven't talked to in 6 months or a year, or 2 years, or 5 years. Right? Well, guess what? When it comes to our hot, all we have to do is how are we going to be heard? Get clear with your developer. What should I say, right? Understand what it is we're talking about. When it comes to our warm, we just got to figure out how to add value. The great news is we're in financial services, guys. There's a whole bunch of resources that we have that can add value and literally start to shift the way your warm market thinks about you and what you're doing, because over the next 6 months and year, 2 years and 5 years, you're going to build a company. Our lukewarm is how do we do this and there's a platform to how to develop and create those relationships. And our frozen, how do we cultivate it and not rush it? See, our top 10, our hot, our warm, our lukewarm, our frozen, they're all different. How do we know how to work our farm system? See, this is about the SSD today, and here's the reason. Our business is this market. How do we do it? So I'm going to give you an example. Like, let's say we're developing our market and they're frozen. Right? How do we talk? What do we do? Call someone we haven't seen in 5 years. Hey, you want to join a company? There's no relationship there. No, people do it. But how do most people receive that? The only reason you're calling me is you want something from me. That's not what we want. We said, look, why don't we just reconnect with someone and say hi? And don't actually want anything. Get into a conversation. How are things going? We got a workflow inside the SSD. Send a hey, just touching base, and there's going to be people that respond. Now, they're going to think you want something and you don't. 2 or 3 months later, guess what? You're going to reconnect with them. You don't want anything again. It takes us 30 seconds to be like, hi, how are the kids? How was this? How was that? I saw your picture on Facebook. Whatever it is, there's the resources and tools to be able to connect and just care about the relationship. Right? Maybe 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you're like, we should meet for a cup of coffee. Ooh, now you're going to recruit them? No. We're going to go in and we're going to assess the relationship. Now that it's thought out, is the relationship hot, warm, lukewarm, or should it stay frozen? After, we know how to work with our hot and our warm and our lukewarm because we have the workflows for that. So it's about putting ourselves in the best position to cultivate the relationship and let people hear us. Well, guys, we've got this strategic partnership. Primerica's doing their job. There's thousands of people in Atlanta right now doing everything they can to make the manufacturing company stronger. The back office is literally the hubs making sure that the licensing and the client retentions, the follow-up, the consistency, all of that's in place, and none of that falls on our shoulders, right? And we've got the SSD built with the workflows and the systems. These systems are in place, right? All we got to do is leverage these two companies. Our job is to really build our allies, advocates, and associates. Why? Because we want to run them through the farm system to be able to tell this. Because down the line, check this out, if you had 50, 100, 200 advocates in your system over the next year, and each of them gave us 2 recommendations a year, that's 400 recommendations of folks that you can go tell the Access Gap story. Do you think that if you told that story to 400 people in the next 12 to 24 months, that there's going to be a handful of them who are like, oh my God, you're talking to me? Your company's starting to grow. And guess what? The other ones, you just keep cultivating the relationships and cultivating the relationships and cultivating the relationships. And that's you. But we're here to build a company. What if you have 25 people on your team and each of them have 200? That's 5,000 recommendations. Do you think you could have an impact on your community if you had an organization that were one phone call away from 5,000 people? And to be able to go tell our story and the entire support system behind it and an infrastructure so not all that weight fell on your shoulders and you'd have to train them all. Like, this module showing up, you don't have to train. Like, I'm not sitting with you, you're learning this, it's already been done. These tools are built to make sure that this information gets to us. So what's our job? Primerica's doing theirs, the back office doing in theirs, and we've got to build our allies, advocates, and associates. What do we do? Right now. What is our job right now? Step 1, guys, is we got to identify our hot, our warm, our lukewarm, and our frozen. We've got to unsquishy our SSD. We got to get those contacts in there. We got to import them. We got to do it, and we got to take the time. Now, I know sometimes, it's hard. Listen, trust me, it takes almost no time compared it'll take to go meet one person and cultivate the relationship, or we could work with, let's say that we've got, 25 hots and 60 warms and 75 lukewarms and 175 frozen. Well, how are we going to keep all that organized, the SSD? How am I going to know when to send out the workflows or when to send out the emails or the texts? The workflows, the frozens, they're all built. You plug them in and start the workflows. The system's going to tell you, hey, you might want to think about doing this now. You might want to do it. And all you do, get your email every day and go, okay, here, let me spend my 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever you've allocated to grow your company and develop your market. The systems are in place. All we got to do is run it. Guys, we want to fight to make freedom in our life a reality. We want to make $500 a month or $5,000 a day. We got the tools. Now it comes down to, what do we want? Why do we need to identify it? Because there might be people in our lives that we think are hot, and we call them and they say sure. We think they're going to say yes. Well, guess what? That means that they might be warm and not hot. That's okay. It's okay. Why? Because now all we have to do is add value. If we know how to do that, right? If there's a game plan to know how to do it and be able to do it, we don't have to be worried about it. It just means it's going to take us a little bit of time. But we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already done. Those advances are locked in. And when we move the warm to hot, they're hot forever if we retain it. Because we're not trying to go in and recruit them. We're not trying to go in and make them buy anything. It's about cultivating and telling the story. Now, are we going to help a bunch of people? Absolutely. Do we actually have to close this gap? Yes. How? People need to listen. They need to take advantage of this because we have amazing services that can literally change their financial life forever. Should people work with us? I believe they should. Right? Whether it's part-time, spare time, get licensed, right? Develop assets, management accounts, assets under management, passive income, man, there's a space for everyone. It's about the creativity. Here's what I know. The better you get at these stories, the better and the stronger your belief goes in. The more your conviction comes in, the more creative you get, and the stronger your organization grows. Because we know how to talk to folks and the levels where they're at. See, we got to identify our 8 to 15 hots today. When we're done, when you turn this thing off, you gut right down who are the 8 to 15 people you're working with right now. And then who are the 25 to 50 frozen. We always need to have our now list and our then list. So many people get caught up in their now list, but they keep it 2 or 3 and not 15, and then the 2 or 3 don't work out or something happens, and then they get frustrated, and then they have to grind over who the next 2 or 3. Stop it. Stop setting yourself up for failure and frustration. Take a beat, turn to your SSD, identify, get your list, know who the 8 to 15 are, start working the game plan, and at the same time, don't just work your hot, because guess what? In 2 months, those folks you're already going to sit with, and then you're going to be like, well, what do I do now? You start seeing your then list now, so that when your now list is ready to be the then list, you already did the work on the then list to make it the now list. Because there's an infrastructure and a system to say, here's how you work your now list, and here's how you work your then list. You're not taking on the world alone, guys. You and I can do this. We have a shot to literally change it together. The systems are in place. Primerica's doing their job. The back office is doing theirs, and we're going to do ours. Man, together we are unstoppable. Together we can make such an impact. We can close this access gap. We can create an environment where Main Street families can hear us. We can develop a feeder system that continues to grow so that we can grow this on a massive scale. You want to be in one city? Fantastic. You want to be in 50? Fantastic. You want to help 5 families a year? Fantastic. You want to help 5 families a day? Fantastic. Because we got the resources and tools to do it. Again, this presentation reflects the opinions of the speaker, not those of Primerica, and really this is our training, and specifically the SSD, because this is us, guys. If you're watching this and understand that this is our tool, this is built by us for us to be able to really utilize this stuff so that we can grow. We've got a big job in front of us, but we can do it. We always tell, no one's coming, but no one else has to, guys. We got this. We learn this stuff, we understand it, and we've got a shot to make a difference. We can impact, and we can fight to make an impact in people's lives and our own. We can drive to be profitable, and we can play to win. This is our time, so talk to you soon.